Tonight on Evening, discover the danger of Omac's suicide run.
I think they're just a little crazy.
Then you'll see a rare interview with President Reagan as he looks back at the football coach who taught him how to be a winner.
I don't know whether I'm that good a character or not, but I know that whatever I am, I feel he had an awful lot to do with it.
And if these two freckle-faced girls can sit still long enough, you'll see the country's top twin models at work tonight on the premiere of Evening.
Hello everybody and welcome to the premiere of Evening. I'm Brian Tracy.
And I'm Penny Legate. We are excited about being in Seattle and about being with you Monday through Friday at 7:30.
Together we're going to see stories from right here in our own neighborhoods to places all over the world. Stories about unusual people, places, and things. We're also interested in hearing what you'd like to see on the show.
Each night, Evening will come to you from a different location. Tonight we're standing on the top of Beacon Hill overlooking the city. A little later we'll show you some other places.
Our first story tonight is about President Reagan, a man who's often referred to as the Gipper. It's a name he inherited when he played a football star in the film Knute Rockne, All-American. It's also a role he played in real life when he was a student at Eureka College.
In a candid interview with Evening's Mike Kaplan, the president reminisces about those good old days and about the football coach that made them unforgettable.
Make it more square. Come on, get on the field, get that ball. I've got football in my blood. I like it. I like what it can, the proper leadership, I think what it can do to a boy.
Ralph McKinsey has been a college football coach since 1921. Today, at age 91, he still coaches pass receivers at Eureka College in Illinois. Not even Parkinson's disease has been able to keep him from the sport he's loved all his life. Mac is the oldest active coach in the game, but he's perhaps best known because of a player he coached for 4 years, starting way back in 1928. That player was Ronald Reagan.
I didn't know too much about him. I didn't know much about his ability as a football player, or anything much about him until he came here on the campus. Particularly in football, my experience with him, he was dedicated to the job of football. He worked hard. He cooperated well. And he wasn't a great star, but I'll say one thing about him, that he worked hard and he did his job as best he could, in which I give him a lot of credit.
At first, Dutch Reagan didn't give the coach much credit.
I developed a feeling that the coach was against me, that he didn't like me and so forth. And I must have been quite a pain at the time. And coming back for the second year, I still nursed that feeling. And all of a sudden out there and on the second team in scrimmage at the beginning of practice, he'd put me not at end where I'd tried the year before, he'd put me wherever there seemed to be an opening on the second team scrimmaging the varsity. And I made up my mind, I was so mad, I made up my mind that the best thing I could do for revenge was to make it that he'd have to put me on the team. So wherever he put me, I set out to learn that job. He knew what he was doing all the time, and I guess he knew what was on my mind.
Mac also knew, or at least he had a feeling, that Dutch was destined to be a sports announcer. It seems that he was always hamming it up in the locker room.
I used to take the broom or something after a game or practice, practice mainly, and sometime, and I'd start in and usually aiming at maybe kidding someone or something that had happened in scrimmage out there, and I would be doing it. And the funny thing happened that when I decided, after I got out of school, I still hadn't made up my mind what I wanted to do. And then I figured that's what I'd like to do. And I started hitchhiking, and those were the dark depression days when even the government was telling you to stay home. There were no jobs. But I was hitchhiking around from radio station to radio station, and in this one station, found out they'd hired an announcer the day before. And as I started out the door, I just said, how does a guy get to be a sports announcer if he can't get a job in a radio station? I never had asked for sports announcing. I just asked for a job, anything, to be inside the studio. And then I thought, take it from there. Mm-hmm. Well, the elevator wasn't at the floor when I got there, and I heard this wonderful old fellow who was on canes, he was arthritic, thumping down the hall and calling to me. And he got there and he said, "What was that you said about sports announcing?" And I said, "Well, that's what I'd like to do." He said, "What do you know about football?" I said, "I played it for 8 years." He said, "Do you think you could tell me about a game and make me see it if I wasn't there?" And I said, "I think so." He took me in a studio. He stood me in front of a microphone. He said, "When that red light comes on, I'll be in another room listening. You broadcast an imaginary football game." That was my audition. And I did it for about 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, I have to tell you that I took the last quarter of a game that we'd played the season before, when in the last 20 seconds, our quarterback went 65 yards for a touchdown. Now on that play, the right guard pulls out and runs interference. And he gets the key man, the first man in the secondary. In the game, I missed that man. And yet Cole made the touchdown. I've never known how, because that man was right there and I missed him with my block. On the replay, in that audition, I nailed him. Such a block you've never heard about before. But anyway, that was he walked in and told me I was broadcasting the Iowa-Minnesota game on the following Saturday.
Dutch was a sportscaster in Des Moines for 4 years before he decided to move on to Hollywood. He credits Coach McKenzie with preparing him well to face life's challenges. He especially recalls the dreaded duck waddle.
Well, it's one of the hardest things in the world when you crouch into this waddle, and it's a great conditioner. And after about 3 hours of football practice, when Mac would say, "All right, line up in the goal line, now everybody duck waddle," and he'd back up ahead of us, and down that field you'd go, and by the time you got to the 10-yard line, you'd think, "Oh, only 10 more yards, maybe we can make it." And you'd cross the goal line, and behind you a voice would say, "Turn around and come back." And you learn that there are things you can do beyond your strength. But Mac was a coach who, sure, he wanted to win, but Mac was a coach who based his record not on wins and losses, but on what happened to the fellas he coached after they were away from him and out in the world. And he hung his record on what kind of fellas they turned out to be.
And you feel that you are an excellent example of the type of characters that he generated from that college?
I don't know whether I'm that good a character or not, but I know that whatever I am, I feel he had an awful lot to do with it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That one's a good.
President Reagan is so fond of his former coach that he still remembers to call him every year on his birthday.
Coming up next, OMAC's treacherous suicide run. Welcome back to Evening from the Seattle Center. Now, over the Labor Day weekend, this place is going to be wall-to-wall people during the annual Bumbershoot Festival. Now, another event you may not be as familiar with is the Suicide Race in OMAC. This is its 50th year, and Evening's Enrique Cernas shows us why the name fits.
It's one contest where you're as likely to finish up at the hospital as the finish line. Just ask the 5 riders who left here by ambulance last year. Still, the challenge and the purse lure daring jockeys and their mounts back up to Suicide Hill every year. 4 times over this rodeo weekend, twice in darkness, twice in daylight, 20 riders, mostly Colville Indians, will bring their horses crashing down that deadly 200-foot Suicide Hill. They'll hit the water at full throttle, bring the horses across, and then come up this path at full speed and into the rodeo arena. It's part horse race, part demolition derby.
It feels pretty good. But when I get on top of that hill, have a few shots, maybe 1 or 2, and then I got no more nerves, I'm ready to come down.
Alex Dick is a legend in OMAC. He was there for the first race in 1935 and went on to win 33 out of the 48 races he entered. What kind of person does it take to be able to do that?
Crazy boy, I guess.
So boy's very relaxed. He's ready to take care of business.
Bernie Zackerley's horse, Moose, is a favorite in the Suicide Run. But Bernie won't be in the saddle. A motorcycle accident has cost him the chance to run this year. So after 3 months of training, Bernie is handing Moose's reins over to Larry Cheney.
I feel really confident with Larry because he's probably one of the better hands on the hill. Because if there's a horse up there to be tested, he'll test it to the limit.
Larry ran his first race 10 years ago at 13. Bernie edged him out 2 years ago to become the 1984 champion. This time, Bernie hopes it's Larry's turn to win.
Yeah, I'd like to win it for Bernie. He kind of got took last year. He should have won the saddle and just had a bad mistake, and then this year couldn't come back, so I'd like to win it for him too, you know. I'd like to bring that saddle home this time.
The heat and wind blister Suicide Hill as 20 suicide jockeys gather a half hour before start time. A few hundred yards away, Moose is given a final stretch. Larry Cheney is a strong favorite as he heads into the last race. Still, to become champion, he must win.
Takes a lot of intestinal fortitude.
They got some guts in them, that's for sure.
I think they're just a little crazy.
It's on the horse, it ain't on the rider. If you get a good start, you gotta be.
And after the dust is settled, Moose wears a new saddle, and Larry Cheney is not only survivor, but champion of the Suicide Run.
Just try it, innit?
Just right, just right, just right, just right again.
Larry and Bernie split the prize money of $2,400, which doesn't seem like an awful lot of money for the risks those guys have to take. You'd never catch me doing it. But we're happy to report that there were no injuries to either horses or riders in this year's race. Thanks, Penny.
I was just talking to Mark back there at the popcorn stand about the Bumbershoot Festival coming up over the weekend, and there's going to be some incredible music, everything from Fats Domino to the Seattle Symphony.
Coming up next, twin 6-year-olds at the top of the modeling world. Rebecca and Hillary Gordon are two of the top models at New York's prestigious Ford agency. Now, what makes them unusual is they're identical twin sisters, and they're only 6 years old. But what makes them successful is their unbelievable energy level. In Evening's Donna Hamilton finds out that sometimes that energy level can be an awful lot to handle.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! Where's Rebecca? And where's Hillary?
Welcome to the world of Rebecca and Hillary Gordon. They're identical twins, 6-year-old bundles of energy who happen to be models. In fact, they're the top twins modeling today.
Are you listening? Are you listening?
Yeah.
What I want to do, okay? I don't want you to listen to me. That's impossible for them to listen to me.
Handled by the prestigious Ford agency, this rambunctious duo has their own approach to the business. But over the last 2 years, they've landed assignments in enough prominent magazines to make many a grown model envious. Their potential to earn lots of money is tremendous, but their parents have surprisingly little desire to take advantage of the situation.
I feel it's all right for now. I'm prepared to stop at any time if I feel that it's not all right.
There's a tremendous tendency of feeling, and we've found this with some parents, to grab. It becomes an avenue, grab, and we're afraid of that. We don't want it to happen to us. We don't want it to happen to the children.
Herb and Gail Gordon chanced into modeling when a friend recommended their girls for this New York Times fashion layout. Other requests poured in, and a career in fashion modeling was born. They can earn up to $20,000 a year for working in print ads. Not bad for a part-time career, but nothing compared to the hundreds of thousands possible in TV work. But the Gordons are cautious about the big money.
a lot of money and a lot of people, a lot of directors and a lot of agents, and there's a drive on many levels to make this television commercial. So if they have a manager, the manager's driving. If they have an agent, the agent is driving. And so far we've avoided that. We don't want to let it get out of hand.
No, Elizabeth said hello. Why so weird? Go to this one.
Now, don't get the idea that the Gordons aren't proud to have celebrity daughters. They are. They just want them to enjoy being kids first, models second. That approach has earned the girls quite a reputation.
Now, I've heard that some people call them wild.
They tend to be a little bit dynamic, and they're not the easiest to work with.
I think dynamic sounds better than wild, don't you?
I do too.
Conjures up something a little more special.
Well, I had first-hand experience that these two give new meaning to the word dynamic.
Does Brandy love you? Sure, but she hates this.
Why does she hate that? I don't blame her. I don't guess I'd like my cheeks pinched either.
Take your shoes off. Shoes on beds are not allowed.
Well, I'm sorry. But those really, they're very clean shoes.
I don't care. No shoes on bed. I want to do what you do with the That was fun.
Hey, we're having some fun now, girls.
Now, the thing to remember here is that all this uncontrolled energy shows up in pictures, and that's what makes these two little Annie lookalikes so special.
They are unusual kids. They have more energy than any 10 kids I've ever seen. And sometimes it works for you, and we get incredible pictures of them. You want to come out?
Yeah.
You want to come out? Lift you up like this? Well, I think what we'll do is we'll wait till we start in the picture, and then we'll put you in, okay? Let's see.
Lift us up.
Here are the Gordons at their best here. Doing what they do best, which is anything they want to do.
Can you lift us up?
The garbage cans instantly work. Is this how you get dressed up in the fall, girls?
Bruce Plotkin specializes in photographing children for ads, and it's his job to turn this dress-up playtime into good photos. Not an easy task. Tough enough keeping track of who's who. Rebecca is the one in the black sweater. Or is it Hillary?
Where's your hat, silly? Let's see, girls. Come on, let's see what you can do here. Hillary, Rebecca, can you stand up on the top of that trash can? Can you hold on to the umbrella? That's your job, okay? Hillary, can you hold on to the umbrella? Everybody's got their own job. I think you should do what I tell you. Can you do that? Let's see. Let's see. You hold on to it. Let's see if you can hold on to it. Just like that. Feel the wind blowing.
After 2 fun-filled hours, here's a look at the final shots. There's no doubt that 2 red-haired, freckle-faced twins will catch your eye, and that's just what advertising is all about. But what do the girls think of their work?
I hated that one.
But what? Tell me this.
I hated that one.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Here. What makes you like a picture or hate a picture? I mean, what makes you like one?
What we like about it is how we did it.
Oh, whether or not it was fun.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't fun, then you hate the picture, even if it's a good picture, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've got it now.
Getting the message here? I don't think Mom and Dad have to worry yet. These two have the whole business in the right perspective.
That was fun.
It was fun, but how do you feel when you see that picture?
That was fun.
Do you like it?
That was fun.
Brian, surely you can relate to that. You have an identical twin. Did you ever act that crazy?
Well, let me give you an idea. When we were growing up, we were known as the Screaming Mimis.
Mimis?
Yeah, the Screaming Mimis. I know it doesn't mean anything to you, but it meant an awful lot to my mother.
We'll be right back with more evenings. Stay with us. This is our first evening. We've just gotten started and we have so much to look forward to.
Here's a quick preview of some of the things coming up. It's a suicide leap off the second tallest bridge in the world. It happens only once a year.
She's the Seahawks' most vocal fan. Mama Blue will go to any length to support her Hawks.
From Collins to Summers, they're all taking it off. Why do stars pose nude?
What does it take to stay alive trapped in a car for 15 days?
scuba dives, her motorcycle rides are a breeze, and her skiing is world class.
Try these collectibles on for size. They'll be collector's items in 2001.
And then there's Birdman.
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. The bird is a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a winner. Well, a bird.
Heaven for little girls.
We also have Cosby's cutie, Keisha Knight Pulliam.
And it seems opera has gone to the dogs.
Thanks for joining us for our very first evening.
We hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you all tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.